Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon Blue version. Today we will be taking on the SSN. The SSN is a famous luxury cruise ship. We visit Vermilion once a year. Welcome to the SSN. Once again, welcome to the SSN. Excuse me, do you have a ticket? Phoenix flashed the SSN ticket. Great. Welcome to the SSN. So the SSN is a limited time dungeon. So there is going to be a point of no return for this location. And as this guy saying, the passengers are relentless and they want to battle. So as we explore the SSN, we will be getting into many battles. So we have all these different types of rooms. So we first come into this room and we find a gentleman. So this gentleman has an interesting team because he has two red version exclusive Pokemon, being Growlithe. Growlithe is a pure fire type and is a stone evolution where if it uses a Firestone, it's able to evolve into Arcanine. The Growlithe family is actually really well rounded with its stats, with a physical attack stat of 110 and a speed of 95. So he's kind of a physical sweeper, and he has a good special of 80, so he can still make use of his fire type moves. There is a counterpart to Growlithe in Pokemon Blue version that we have yet to come across. But if you do want to use a Growlithe, one thing that may be recommended is keeping it for a while, because it does have an exclusive move. It learns as a Growlithe, but it learns it at level 50, being Flamethrower. So if you want to get your full use out of Arcanine, you might have to have a Growlithe for a while. As we move around, we're going to come across another gentleman. And the main benefit of battling gentlemen are the amount of money they give you after each battle. So this gentleman uses both Nidoran male and, as we're about to see after this one, a Nidoran female. I always find this part of the game very interesting. I kind of made reference to it in last episode, where we start seeing people with Pokemon that kind of helps tell a story with them, or maybe shows off the kind of person they are. So the first gentleman we came across had two dogs that are version exclusive. So maybe he's well traveled and he has these loyal hounds, where this one has more kind of common Pokemon, but depending on the version you have, one of them is rarer than the other. So he maybe has spent a lot of time, or possibly even money, to obtain a rarer Pokemon. So it just makes it interesting because you're starting to see different aspects of these trainers. So one thing I want to do for this episode, since it's going to be so battle heavy, is I just want to kind of talk about Pokemon and my experiences with it. So I first played Pokemon Blue when I was young. I don't remember the exact age, but I know it was before Pokemon Gold and Silver coming out. And what got me into Pokemon was actually speech therapy. When I was young, I had problems with my speech, and I still deal with that now, even though I'm in my 30s. But as we would go through the lessons and all that, we would earn points, and we could exchange our points for a prize at the prize wall. And I remember very vividly, granted, there's inaccuracies to how I remember this. Um, Me exchanging my prize points for a Pokemon trading card booster pack. I vividly remember it being like a red pack with Graveler on it. I have looked, there is no such thing as this red pack with a Graveler on it. I don't think there's ever been a pack with Graveler on it, but that's what I clearly remember. And I remember opening up the pack and, going through the cards, and it's just all the normal. It was like around base set time. Maybe I'm thinking of like Legendary Collection, but it didn't have the reverse holo in it, all that. But I remember pulling the holo Zapdos from that pack. And I thought Zapdos was the coolest thing. This Thunderbird, like covered in spikes. And later on in this adventure, we will meet Zapdos. And basically, that's what sold me on Pokemon. That one booster pack and that one card. After that, I came across the anime, fell in love with the show, with how goofy it was and all that. And then I got the games eventually, got a Game Boy and got Blue version. And I started off with Squirtle because I thought the little turtle was the coolest. And I started playing the game. And I was by far not a good player. I did not like to read when I was young. So I had a habit of just spamming through the dialogue and looking for keywords, like the big words of like city names. And that's basically how I played it. It would direct me to where I needed to go next. And because I didn't like to read, I didn't really know the mechanics of the game. So my team would consist of eventually my Blastoise, who was a lot higher level than everything else. And then basically for most of the adventure, the 5 strongest Pokemon I could find on any route. And I just replaced them as I got a stronger team member, in quotes. This lasted until I found Zapdos, who I threw my Master Ball at and caught. And he became my second, official member. And the other 4 were just random things I caught. So I think I got to, the end of my adventure with Blastoise, Zapdos, and then, 2 Onixes, a Graveler, and a Machoke. Because those were the highest level things I could find. And I never could beat the game. I would get to, near the final boss, but I never beat it. And then one day, I guess water got in my copy and it corrupted it. I lost my save file. And it was sad. And it wasn't until the Virtual Console's release that I finally ever did beat Pokemon Blue version. So, I've only beaten it a handful of times. I've beaten it one time where I only used Blastoise as my Pokemon, kind of based off that original run. And I did successfully beat it. But this game will always be fun to me because this is where I started. Kanto is not my favorite region, but it does always have a special place in my heart. And then throughout the years, I started playing newer games, and I would get multiple versions. I had blue, then I got yellow. I had gold, silver, and crystal. I had ruby, sapphire, and emerald. My ruby got ran over by a lawnmower because it fell out of my pocket when I was walking outside. Starting in the Diamond and Pearl era, that's when I kind of had a falling off of it. So I did eventually get Pearl, but that was the only one of that generation I got. Years later, I would get Soul Silver as a birthday gift from some friends. And then I got Pokemon Black doing a trade with some friends. And then around college is when Black 2 came out. So I bought that on with my own money. And then while in college, played X 3 times in a row, one time each with each starter. Then I ended up getting, my first big job. I remember playing Pokemon Sun then. I originally ordered Pokemon Moon, but couldn't wait because I ordered it by mail, so I just got the digital copy of Sun. Played Let's Go Eevee when it came out. And then it's just every other game I would get now both versions of them and play through them. And it's just, this has always been a special franchise to me. And that's why I wanted to come back to this game, mainly as this first Let's Play in celebration of the anniversary, because I grew up with the games. They're having their 30th anniversary, and I was basically here for all of it. And of course, I've done expanded media with it. I've watched plenty of the anime. I played all spin-off games, and I eventually even got into the manga, and I've read it. I own basically almost every volume that's released now. And it's just, this is a special franchise to me. And yes, I see its faults, but I can always come back and play it again and try to play it in different ways. And that's kind of my story with Pokemon. But as we're seeing, as I'm going around, we're seeing all these different types of trainers. We get to see the sailors with their Machops that are probably helping them on board. They then have some water Pokemon with them that they probably caught while sailing around. As we're going to see later, Tentacle and Shelders are going to be popping up as we're moving around the water once we get the ability. So that's where this became neat. We find this fisherman on the boat. It makes sense. He's going around the world by water. He's going to fish and he's going to catch different things. So he has a Goldeen right now. It's like, I just always found it amazing, mainly when I got to this part, even the first time, how I started seeing the thought they put into this game. And we get to see now, like, people living with Pokemon and, how to express that without using words. So, kind of switching back to just commentary on the battles. We're seeing Parasy here doing pretty good, but he gets taken out by Goldeen because of Peck. I send out Kaiser hoping to get the knockout, get a little bit more experience, because Kaiser's getting to a kind of important level. And I think he's about to hit it. Yes, he did. Level 23. So, with the Nidoran male line, 23 is kind of an important point to determine which path you want to take. He's learning Focus Energy now, which can help boost the odds of getting a critical hit, but I believe it was messed up in this game where it doesn't actually really do anything, so that's why I'm not teaching it. I didn't kind of want to risk not having a great move, but the main reason why level 23 is important for Kaiser is not for what Nidorino learns at this level. Is for what Nidoking learns at this level. So, with him finally turning level 23, it's going to be time to evolve Kaiser. So after this battle, we're going to get our first team member who reaches their final evolution. So it's exciting. We're finally getting to a point where we're hitting certain parts of the end game, but we're still early on. We only have half our team. So it's kind of neat, and we can take advantage of certain things because we're starting to get Pokemon up to those levels where they're reaching those evolutions. So Genbu's out here fighting for this Goldeen. Even though Water Gun isn't that effective, we can kind of take advantage of, okay, Genbu getting stabbed with it, and Goldeen not necessarily having the most high special stat. So even though it may not be a not very effective move, we can still get a fair bit of damage out of it. And it's time. We go to our items, and we use the one of the moonstones I've been carrying around, and we finally are going to evolve Kaiser. What? Kaiser is evolving. Kaiser evolved into Nidoking. Kaiser is trying to learn Thrash, but Kaiser can't learn more than 4 moves. Delete an older move to make room for Thrash. So Thrash is actually slightly weaker in this game versus later games, because normally in the future games I think it has 120 base power. In this game it only has a base power of 90. But it still has the same kind of effects. For 2 to 3 turns, Kaiser will thrash about. He will be using this 90 power attack, and after those 2 or 3 turns, he will then be confused. Well, we can kind of take advantage of this being a very powerful attack on a very physically offensive Pokemon, that if we get the knockout in those 2 or possibly 3 turns, we can then switch Kaiser out and he doesn't get confused, and we get a safe switch in. So this is taking advantage of switch mode versus set. I don't typically play on set mode. I have before, but due to me just wanting to level up everything easily, I kind of just keep the switching. Unfortunately, Parasy did get knocked out, and he's going to be knocked out for a bit as we keep exploring. But Genbu and now Kaiser as a Nidoking will be able to sweep a lot of things up. And also Kaiser kind of comes at a very important time, because our next gym, Viridian, is an electric gym. And when Kaiser evolves into a Nidoking, he gains the ground typing. So this is where Dig could have actually been really good on Kaiser, because now he would get stabbed with it. But I chose to give it to Genbu to help him kind of deal with the electric weakness he has, because maybe Kaiser gets knocked out beforehand and then an electric type comes out. Or, you know, the main thing's going to be, there's going to be a move later on that Kaiser's going to learn that's just as good as Dig, and he gets stabbed. So I didn't want to have like a redundancy, and I wanted to make use of the TM. And with Genbu being such a tank, keeping Dig on him lets him last longer, because he can avoid those hits. This guy mentions he has Pokemon ferry other people across the water, and then we mention Cut and HM. So once again, different uses for Pokemon that people use. And as you see, as we've been going around this, we'll be entering rooms, and we'll have kind of encounters set up a little different from the remakes of Fire Red Leaf Green and possibly Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, where in those games, if we walked into this room and where we had our position, most likely both trainers would have spotted us and we would have entered a double battle. But this is before double battles were introduced. We still have all of Gold, Silver, and Crystal to go through, and then we hit Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald where they introduce the double battles. Oh, and here we get to see Ponyta. Ponyta is another pure fire type, and its main thing is its speed. It's also another, I think, pretty good physical attacker. Yeah, it's basically a physical sweeper. Its special is still good at 80. It's basically kind of like another way to use Arcanine, so it's kind of like the more generic version. I don't think it's necessarily as good as Arcanine, but you can still make a lot of use out of it. And one benefit to the Ponyta line over the Arcanine line is you don't have to worry about the evolving it by stone and it not getting extra moves, because that was kind of the big decider with when to evolve Kaiser, because now that he's a Nidoking, we did that stone evolution, he's not going to learn many moves naturally. And the kind of reason why I say level 23 is the big decider on which path you want to take down Nidoking is because, or when to get a Nidoking, is because at level 36, Nidorino learns a very special move, Horn Drill. And Horn Drill is a single hit knockout attack, or a one hit KO move. And it has very low accuracy, accuracy of 30. And it only works on Pokemon, I believe, equal to or less than your level. So if you want that move, you have to keep it as a Nidorino. One kind of slight correction to that. In Red and Blue, he learns it at level 36. In Yellow, he learns it at level 38. So you have to, if you want that move for fun, you can use it then. But at level 23, Nidoking learns his final move that is kind of unique, so we kind of need him to evolve there. In Red and Blue version, Nidorino also learns the move Double Kick at level 50, which hits twice, and it basically ends up having a 60 damage like attack stat. But in Yellow version, Nidorino learns it a lot earlier at level 12, so you can make more use of that, and that can be useful if you're fighting Brock. If you grab this Nidoran, you can have it learn Double Kick where it normally would not learn it. But in this game, you lose that ability with Nidoking, and basically Thrash is his last move, so if you get it past level 23, you lose that ability. But Nidoking is special because he basically makes up for that lack of learning moves by the amount of TMs he can learn. We haven't really got into it yet, but there's a lot of good moves coming up that he can learn, and this is where we start taking advantage of his fairly high attack and decent speed, with him being okay with the bulk. So we're just continuing on. We're seeing all these different Pokemon. as we're getting closer to the end of the SSN, one thing to note, as I was saying, this is a limited time dungeon. We're only able to come here basically once, but while you're here, until you beat the final boss of the area, you can come in and out and you can heal up. So I could have healed up Parasy, but I didn't want to risk it because for some reason I was kind of convinced when I was going through this that if I left, it would leave, forgetting that you have to get a very important HM here to continue the story. There's no way to fight the third gym without it, basically. I mean, there is a way around it, but there's a lot of work to do that. So Genbu is now level 25, doing really well. So Parasy does fall behind here, but he can get caught up fairly quick, mainly with a different dungeon that will be upcoming after we beat the gym. And right now, like, I'm specifically looking for a room where there's a hidden item with one of these sailors. So that's why you see me going up to the bed, because there is a hidden item on one of the beds. Here we have Horsey, the pure water type. We saw it earlier, but we just have, all these sailors with different pure water types. So as we continue on with our adventure and gain more fishing rods and the ability to surf around on the water, we're going to be running into all these water types and see how these sailors came about them, either by fishing or just probably their everyday life on this cruise ship. So Kaiser comes on out and hits with Thrash and almost knocks out Horsey completely. It counters with Bubble, which now Kaiser is weak to due to gaining a ground type. Well, gaining the ground type. So the sailor sends out another Horsey, but based off how we're doing, this Thrash should nearly knock it out. And we actually get the knockout. So Kaiser gains some points and we defeat this sailor. We come up here, we can find an ether, so gain back some power points. No hidden item in this room. We have another sailor to fight. And this time he starts off with the Tentacle, a water poison type. So Tentacle is actually very especially defensive, but luckily we're able to do a fair bit of damage using Bite since it's physical. Genbu is confused and unfortunately hits itself in confusion. And then Tentacle starts to wrap us. We switch out to Kaiser to get rid of the wrap and hopefully be able to take it out, but it hits us with Supersonic, confusing him. So as long as we can hit this horn attack, and we don't, and it combos that up with wrap. So we're now stuck waiting for Kaiser to be free so we can finally knock it out. Luckily, it can't use Supersonic on us while we're stuck in wrap. So we just have to wait for it to finish. But we're still confused from beforehand. But we're able to get through the confusion and hit the horn attack. Gaining 199 experience for both Genbu and Kaiser. Next is Staryu. Pure water type like we met with Misty. Hopefully this Thrash will do a good enough damage and we get the knockout. And Kaiser gains some more experience. So one kind of beneficial thing with being confused while using Thrash is we don't have to worry about the confusion again if we can get done with the 2 to 3 turns. And we picked up TM44 Rest. Rest is a unique move because it is a healing move. It actually heals your Pokemon for all the damage it has taken, but the drawback is your Pokemon is now asleep. Luckily, if your Pokemon is paralyzed, poisoned, burned, this sleep will override that. So it kind of works as slightly a full restore, but you do have to have your Pokemon wake up. But you can still use an awakening to wake it up, or as we're going to find in a bit, it's going to take us a little while. We're going to find something that is basically infinite awakening. So Rest is not a bad move to use, mainly on your more bulky Pokemon to get that HP back. Gimbu here is taking out the Staryu with some bites. Gain some experience. The Fisherman is now sending out Shelter. And we're going to send out Kaiser. And yes, Shelter still has the high physical defense. But with Kaiser's attack stat and Thrash on top of that, it puts in the work. That Shelter doesn't last too long. It can use Withdrawal to gain more defense. But we'll just continue thrashing about and take out Shelter. So we gain some more experience and grow to level 25. Seeing that Kaiser's attack stat and speed are fairly high at 59 and 57 respectively. And now we can take on our final Sailor. Matey, you're walking the plank if you lose. So he has only one Pokemon, being Machop. Level 20. So this shouldn't be anything too bad. We're going to use Water Gun, taking kind of advantage of Machop's lower special defense. It hits us with Karate Chop back, dealing a critical hit, but we're still fine. One more Water Gun should do it. And we just missed the knockout. Luckily, he doesn't knock us out in return. And then we hit back with Water Gun for the win. So now, with all the extra trainers beaten, and we're about to pick up our final item, we're going to head out to heal up to then face our final challenge of the SSN. And we find a Hyper Potion, which is one of the best potions in the game. It is outclassed by Max Potion, but in terms of this game, it's really basically just a cheaper Max Potion. So, a Hyper Potion, like a potion and a Super Potion, heals a fixed amount of damage. And this game, it heals 200 HP. Which for basically the entire game is probably going to be more HP than what your Pokemon's going to have. So it's going to be a full heal. And even if your Pokemon has more than 200 HP, you're probably going to heal it up before it takes 200 HP of damage. So it's basically a full heal. So if we drop by our PC, I accidentally clicked the wrong thing. And so I want to go to Bill's PC so I can drop off Sandshrew and Drowsy, who have just been hanging out, enjoying our time on the boat. We're healed up. And we're ready for our final boss. And dealing with AI and the AI of the game in a weird way of trying to get past that lady. Take a wrong turn. Now we're back to the harbor. And really the only annoying part about leaving the SSN and coming back is you do have to go through the dialogue again of this guy who let you on. You have to show him your ticket. and then we can enter. Now, make sure that before you do what I'm about to, you have completed everything on the SSN. So, beating any rooms you want to, picking up any items, checking each floor, making sure you come down here to where the cooks are and get the hidden item in the trash can. Just check everything off you want to, because after we finish this next part, the SSN will set sail, and if anything you haven't picked up will be gone. So, who do we fight to finish off the SSN? Well, first, let's get our team ready. Let's, instead of moving Parasy up front, we move up Kaiser, have his debut battle against our rival. So, once again, we see green. Bonjour, Phoenix. Imagine seeing you here. Phoenix, were you really invited? So how's your Pokédex coming? I already caught 40 kinds, pal. Different kinds are everywhere. Crawling around in grassy areas. So, as usual with green, his team depends on which version of the game you're playing. In red and blue, he starts off with his level 19 Pidgeotto, where in yellow he starts off with a level 19 Spearow. Pidgeotto hits us with quick attack, but we're going to hit back with Thrash, doing a massive amount of damage, nearly getting the complete knockout, but due to Pidgeotto not using another quick attack, we're able to outspeed him. Next, green is sending out his Eradicate. This is the only Pokemon that he has in common between all the versions. At level 16, we're going to send out Parasy. And yeah, we're going to take this tackle out first due to how fast Eradicate is, but we're going to hit with Dunspoor to paralyze him and slow him down. Now we're going to do our combo with Leech Life to do damage and start healing back up that first hit. So, Leech Life again. So we can keep Parasy topped off while also being able to survive more hits. He did get a critical, but it's not that big of a deal because we can just start healing back up. Gets paralyzed again. This Leech Life should be close, if not to taking him out. Almost, and we're almost back at full health. We do see that he has a potion, so he does heal up Eradicate. But we just keep going. We're back at full health again. It's fully paralyzed. One more Leech Life will hopefully do it. And once again, he's barely there. But with that paralyze, we're good. I probably should have used Scratch there, but it's not a big deal. And Parasy gains some experience. Next, he sends out Kadabra. So his Abra has evolved. But we don't have to worry about it too much. He still doesn't have the best moves. As you see, he still has Teleport, which does nothing. Let's pop on that Stun Spore just in case he brings out something good. But Leech Life, being a bug type move, is actually super effective against psychic types. One of the only weaknesses psychic types have in this game due to like a coding error. So he did use Disable, but luckily it didn't hit Leech Life. So we get the knockout in 2 hits. In Pokemon Yellow, he will have a Sandshrew instead at the same level. And lastly, he sends out his starter. And red and blue, the starter that's stronger against yours at level 20. We're unable to use Stun Spore because it was still disabled. And in yellow version, he sends out his EV. So we do Leech Life, which is super effective against Ivysaur. And he just uses ground. We're going to keep using Leech Life. We're disabled no more, but we don't really need that Stun Spore now. I always find this sprite for Ivysaur interesting because it is standing up. This is like the only time we really see it standing. It's always usually on its all fours. I don't know. I kind of like how this sprite looks, but I understand with how the sprite looks in other games, it being on fours does make sense. And Parasy grows to level 23. and green has been defeated. At least you're raising your Pokemon. So, I don't know. We can maybe get the praise. And he says, I heard there's a Cut Master on board, but he was just a seasick old man. But Cut itself is really useful. You should go see him. Smell ya! And now we enter the captain's quarters. And we find the captain next to the trash can. Oh, I feel horrendous. Seasick. Phoenix rubbed the captain's back. Rub, 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 rub. Woo, thank you. I feel much better. You want to see my cut technique? I could show you if I wasn't ill. I know, you can have this. Teach it to your Pokemon, and you can see it cut anytime. Phoenix got HM01. So, HMs are hidden machines. Ooh, no, I'm not sick anymore. I guess it's time. So now it's time for him to set sail with the SSN. We can look at his book, How to Conquer Seasickness. The captain's reading this. So, HMs differ from TMs. So TMs are technical machines. You can only use them once. And a Pokemon can only learn that move from that TM once. HMs are hidden machines. They do have infinite use. But the trade-off is you can't forget them like a normal move. So if you taught a TM, so like Genbu with Dig, if I wanted to, I could replace Dig with a different move. And as we see here, we have gained a lot of money from this boat. But if I teach, say, Genbu Cut, if he was able to learn it, I could not forget Cut like a normal move. We would have to go to a special NPC known as the Move Deleter to be able to forget HMs. So make sure you don't teach HMs lightly. If you don't plan for it to be on your Pokemon for a long time, do not teach it. So now, with us conquering the SSN, we are going to be able to teach a Pokemon Cut and get to the third gym finally. So next time on Pokemon Blue version, we take on the Viridian City Gym. And then start exploring elsewhere. So I will see you next time.